Then finally, remember the topic was supposed to be about angels and groups, right? And I'm telling you why angels invest together, but angels actually often form groups. So the answer for efficiency and for lots of reasons on how angels do what they do, and we'll talk about that in a second here, is that they form groups. And so back to the ACA and some statistics here. Off to you, Elaine.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really it. Because go back to that analogy about if I've got to get 16 investors, if you even just take an hour of contact, and it's normally a lot longer than that to get somebody to write a check, that's an awful lot of time when you're not spending time with your company. So what you'd rather do is pitch to an angel group that might have anywhere between 50 and maybe 100 members, and hopefully that one pitch, I'm going to get 8, 10, 12 investors at one time. And so what the ACA really does is really focus on helping individual angels and particularly angel groups discover the best practices, discover the best deals, and work together. There are currently 14,000 angels inside a little bit less than 300 angel groups throughout the United States and Canada that are parts of the Angel Capital Association. And these are groups that will write on average between actually $250,000 and $500,000 checks in any one deal. They're in all 50 states, in really all the provinces. And now the latest thing that has occurred, which for those of you particularly who are not in the United States, you can now become a member of the Angel Capital Association, even if you are outside the United States. And you do that because you want to learn from other angels, you want to share the knowledge, you want to share the experience. And I don't know, do you have the next slide? Next.
Yeah, I'll do that in a second. I just want to point out this is I made this little screenshot here. This is 4 screenshots from the ACA website. And if you can't, I can't see the URL. It's right there. If I move.
Yeah, it's angelcapitalassociation.org, all spelled out.
Yeah.
That's where you'll find all this information.
If you're looking at, after you're done with the Angel Accelerator, when you want to go find an angel group, this is the names of states. And then these are links to every angel group that's a member of the ACA. And those are typically the largest angel groups there are. Well, I may touch on the other ones. We also have a map. You can see where they are. So if you're in eastern Montana or Saskatchewan, you're out of luck, but there aren't very many people there. If you're on the coast, there's a lot of orgs. Yeah, I've seen angel groups that are smaller. So in the ACA, they typically have the ones that have an org. I once pitched to an angel group for one of my startups that met at Starbucks in the morning. And they literally had no name. They called themselves, in email, they called themselves the Mercer Island Starbucks Angel Group or Angel Network. But that wasn't a real name. There was no dues. We'll talk about dues in a second. They just met once a month at the Starbucks on Mercer Island outside of Seattle. And they invited one company to come pitch each one. And we literally just sat around the big wood table. Entrepreneur on one end, angels on the other. Nobody even knew who everyone was in the room because there wasn't really any membership. What an angel group does typically is meet monthly. And I say 8 to 12 times here because angels like to take summers off. Angels typically don't invest between Thanksgiving and the first week in the year. So usually there might be a holiday party at that time or just nothing. So I've seen 8 times a year. I've seen 12 times a year. I'm part of a national angel group called Social Venture Circle. You know, nationally, we meet once a year. And then there's a bunch of things that happen in between. But typical is 8 to 12 times a year. It's usually a lunch. It's almost always like a 2-hour lunch. At the lunch, there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 pitches. Typically, each angel group has a number that they like and they stick to it. One reason why angels flock to angel groups is because then they don't have to do any work to go get those pitches in front of them. They have to work on their deal flow. They also get to work as a group into due diligence. I think I'll touch on this in the next slide. One of the defining factors of what makes an angel group, and there are some variants of this, but nearly all of them, the investors are investing as individuals. They're not committing money into a fund. They're not giving any control over their money to anybody else. It's their money. It's their investments. They choose when to make them and when not to make them. And for all of this services, they usually pay a fee. The Starbucks angels don't. But that fee is usually high hundreds, $1,000. And this national group I'm a member of is $2,000 a year, which is really expensive for an angel group. So why did they do it? Kind of three big reasons. First and foremost, you got to see a lot of deals. You want to look at 100 deals before you say yes to one. And if you're an individual angel, where are you going to get 100 deals? Like, you can go to Angel List and go start looking at companies, but there's last I looked, there are like 2 million companies. So you're probably not going to do that. You may just go to pitch events. You may go to accelerator demo days, but you got to go to a lot of those to see 100 or even 50. But if you're in an angel group, because there's a group of angels, the entrepreneurs apply. And so there's a flow of deals, or deal flow, as we call it. And then the hard part when it comes to angel groups is to always find someone who wants to screen them, because a lot of them are I don't want to use the real word out there. A lot of them are not good. And somebody in the angel group will step up and do it usually. And then due diligence is a very long, arduous process to do to the level the VCs do. Angels don't do it to that level. But if you do as a group, you have some chance of finding more yellow flags than if you do it alone. And when you do it as a group, people have different backgrounds and different experiences and have to ask different questions. So one of the things you will learn in doing this as a group, whether it's inside the accelerator or in an angel group, is you just hear the questions that people ask. And I was always amazed when I went and pitched the VCs in California. These people ask amazingly good questions. It's like you spent 20 minutes pitching your company, and every single time they would ask an excellent question, just a probing question that, and often one that we hadn't heard before. And they do that because that's what they do for a living. They do due diligence for a living. So they see patterns. I can do this now too. It's not a parlor trick. It's just something you learn. You learn from practice. And then the last one, if you were here last week, I said angels invest because it's fun. It makes them feel useful and they make money. First and foremost, fun. That's why it's in highlighted there. And that's part of being an angel group. It's a community. It's fun. You get to hang out with a crowd who are all have something in common, which is investing in startups. You get to hang out with startups, and it was the only way to really learn, was to sit in the back of the room and watch. And so that's why angel groups exist. And then to finish this off, we got Elaine. I think you said some of this before, but dive in one more time.
Yeah, I think part of it, though, what Looney has said, what has happened over time is that angel groups have gotten a lot more formal. There are now angel funds where you actually do commit money and you delegate some of your responsibility. But what they're trying to do is make sure you are going to make money ultimately. You invest in angel deals either because you might want to do it for philanthropy, and that's a very good reason for doing it with impact investing. But basically, you want to increase wealth in some regard. And you're also doing it because you really want to make the economy better, okay? You want to create jobs. You want to get out of this pandemic and what has occurred, and so you want to invest in good companies. And so what the ACA is trying to do is band together the expertise. We like to say we've stepped in a lot of learning over these years to really begin to put some numbers around this. And if you actually go to angelcapitalassociation.org, you'll find the last Angel Funders Report, which does have a whole series of charts and data on angel investing of what's currently happening as of 19. We're getting ready to do the 20 report soon. We do a lot of education work. You'll learn some, a lot with taking Looney's accelerator and participating in that. If you want to learn even more in terms of best practices, we have a whole series of educational courses where you really learn what all the terms are, how you work on them, where they are. The networking is really, really important. Angels learn from other people. You're always going to learn something new. And we've cultivated a whole series of successful angels over the year, and we can tell you maybe what to do and maybe perhaps what not to do. And I talked a little bit earlier about, both safeguarding the rights, making sure there's good tax policy, making it easier for entrepreneurs. It used to be that entrepreneurs could only have 99 investors. Well, that becomes a real challenge in what you're trying to raise money at. That's now up to 249 investors, which made it a lot easier for companies to raise money. So the ACA is working to really help the angel groups, help the individual investors be more successful, however you want to define success.
Elaine already said something like this. Typically, when a company goes and pitches to an angel group and they succeed, then there'll be, some investors in the room that say yes, 5, 10, 15, 20. And the number that I tell my entrepreneurs is in the Seattle numbers is, just expect 200, 300, maybe if you're outstanding $400,000. So if you're raising 500, which again is the normal number, you're not going to get it all in one pitch at one angel group. You're going to have to go to more than one angel group. And more often than not, you're going to have to go and find 3. And the good news is in Seattle and Boston and a few other cities, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 of these. Most cities, though, have 1. So most cities, you don't get everything you want from that angel group. And then what I also tell my entrepreneurs is don't go there first. What you want to do is you want to go there needing $200,000 to $300,000 left that's not yet circled up in your round. Angel groups are really good at finishing rounds. That's what they're ideal at. They don't seem to like to go first as much. And then I also tell them that keep in mind that not everybody who gets through the screening and pitches on stage is going to get funded. So in the angel groups where I visited all of them in Seattle, I think. And so, if they do 3 in a luncheon, usually 2 will get to due diligence. Often those 2 will get something from someone, but sometimes it's 1. If they're doing 5, there's a few groups that do 5. Yeah, it might be 3. 3 might actually find their funders in that pitch. So just because you've made it through screening, just because other people in the room, with my investor hat on, just because other investors in the room like it, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get funded. It really does need 4 or 5 people to get it all the way through that due diligence, unless one person just really loves it and they write the $25,000 check, but then you're just one angel. And then when we get to Series A, right, that was just the angel level. So then when we get to Series A, that first check that you're going to get from the VCs or the very large seed funds and some big angels, that first one's going to be, $2 million, $3 million, somewhere around that range. Probably a little less in the middle of the country and a lot more in San Francisco. And then out in the emerging markets, it's going to be way smaller than this. We might do a Series A round for $200,000 or $300,000 or even $100,000. We might call that a Series A. Now, one last thing here is in terms of why Series A is that VC round and not the angel round, is if you do the math again, if you're raising $2 million, if the startup is raising $2 million and the angels are writing $25,000 checks, that's 80 investors. That math, you have 80 slots to fill up. You can think of it. Thank you for raising the limit above 99. This is why $10,000 checks are nice, but not great, because it takes exactly the same amount of time for an entrepreneur to talk to a $10K check as a $50K check. But it takes 80 investors to get to $2 million, but it's not 80 conversations. So a good close rate would be 1 in 10. 1 in 20 would be a normal close rate. So just to do the math, make it simple, if 1 in 10 of the potential investors that gets pitched invests, and there's no angel groups, just we're trying to talk into why groups are good here, that's 800 pitches. And I know this for a fact. I've done more than 800 pitches for my fund. And I close, 1 in 10, 1 in 12, maybe 1 in 15 in a good year. I just do pitches all the time. And every single pitch is an hour, and it just eats up a huge amount of time. But, in time, the numbers add up. But if I'm an entrepreneur and I need a specific amount of money right now, as opposed to a fund, yeah, this number's killer. You have to go and find a professional institution that can write a bigger check. You can't do it with $25,000 checks. And with that, we will end with startup investing. As we said at the beginning, is complicated.